Do take a seat. A wonderful hymn, a wonderful rhyme, good and food. That works just about. We're going to end with one more fantastic hymn, but before we do, rogation and an exciting reading. So welcome, thank you for coming along to church for a Rogation Sunday. It's one of those littler festivals. We've grown quite fond of it in recent years. Not many years, but recent ones. We've picked it back up, Rogation. We're not finished with it yet. We quite like it. And if you simply couldn't wait for Sunday morning to come, then I'm sure midweek you'll have found yourself perusing the agricultural year section of the Church of England website. I'm seeing no blank faces in the room. We've taken to thinking of Rogation as a little bit like Harvest's Advent. We're looking forward. If you were brave enough last Sunday to seek out any Latin scholars at church to say, you look like you did Latin at school, is that a compliment or not? I don't know yet. They'll have told you, as James said, that Rogation is about asking. It's about asking, and there is so much for us to ask God for, isn't there? Not least the harvest, but more than that too. This Sunday, we're taking off our farmers' hats, sadly, and we're looking forward not to a harvest, but to the harvest, to the Lord Jesus' return when he gathers his people together. And as we turn to Luke chapter 12, Jesus has a question on his mind. So let me ask you that question. Are you ready? Are you ready? I wonder, what helps you feel ready? Maybe on a nervous day, maybe every day. There are people here that I have never seen not wearing a tie, I think. You certainly look ready. Whenever I see you, you're like dapper, completely dressed, ready for anything. Maybe that makes you feel like you are set for the day. You certainly look like it. And maybe it's something else for you. Maybe it is a pair of sturdy boots tied up properly tight. Maybe it is a very substantial breakfast. Or maybe it's just some good tunes on in the car and you feel like, yeah, I can do this. I'm set. I am ready. I'm prepared. And if you're incredibly saintly, maybe you're thinking, well, Adam, I feel ready when I've thought of a psalm that I've memorized and I've had a little prayer and then I'm done for the day. I'm sorted. Well done. It's not a bad idea. All sorts of things might help us to feel ready. And as we get to Luke 12, Jesus is interested in that. Are you really prepared? So I'm asking, not because I'm about to unleash some great peril for you all to battle against, but because Jesus' message today is all about this question. So with that in mind, we're going to explore what Jesus wants from us, how to do it, and finally, why we should bother. It's a bit cheeky, that last one, but Jesus gives us quite a lot to think about why we should bother. It's a question he's thought of in this passage, so we're going to dive into it too. But first, question 1. What does Jesus want? In our first verse this morning, verse 35, Jesus starts by saying, stay dressed for action and keep your lamps burning. And be like men who are waiting for their master to come home from the wedding feast, so that they may open the door to him at once when he comes and knocks. Now, you can correct me later. I don't think anyone here has servants at home. But you've seen enough Downton Abbey to know what is expected. You know how this thing works. Jesus is speaking to people who understand that a servant has got to get the job done. It is no good, is it, shuffling in your pajamas to light the candles when the master has been up for an hour or two. Simply doesn't work. So it's a little bit strange to our ears, and maybe it sounds like these servants, they're terribly overworked. They're having a lot put on them. They could do with a little break. But Jesus' hearers, they understand that a good servant is simply one who is ready and not taken by surprise. One commentary said, these words ought to stir us like the sound of a trumpet. I love that. I haven't brought my trumpet with me, but you all know the kind of idea. It's a blast. They are hard to sleep through. They're hard to ignore, as my neighbors have known from time to time. Jesus wants us to be wide awake and ready for action. And sometimes, we all know, that's a bit tricky. When I was a student in Nottingham, the lovely Christian Union there, they used to host a prayer meeting at about 7:30 in the morning. That was early enough for science students to kind of get out and go to their lectures, and early enough for the arts students to go back to bed, as everyone expected. You can ask me which one I was later. So to encourage us to get there on time, Frank and Lydia and I, we would knock on each other's doors on the way to early morning prayer. And sometimes we were all ready, bright eyes, bushy tails. We'd say, hello, good morning, let's go and collect Frank. And other times we were not quite there. Often there were sleepy eyes and messy hair and dressing gowns, if we're honest, and pajamas. We were sort of ready, but we definitely weren't bounding out of the door most days. And it wasn't that we'd completely forgotten, but at the same time, it did not look like we'd really remembered. Now, we're going to skip ahead to verse 38 in our reading. We'll come back to verse 37 right at the end. But verse 38 says, if he comes in the second watch or in the third and he finds the servants awake, blessed are those servants. But know this, that if the master of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Trouble comes then when we think nothing is coming, when we have forgotten that Frank and Lydia are going to rock up at 7 a.m. and knock on the door. Trouble comes because a burglar doesn't drop a note through the day before, does he, and say, I'm going to try all the doors tomorrow night, so just remember and lock it and make sure. Trouble comes when we've forgotten, we've been distracted, we think, not tonight. It would never happen tonight. We'll not be burgled tonight. No, the thief gets in when he catches us off guard. And Jesus tells us to be ready now because nobody knows the hour when he will be back either. And if we call ourselves followers of Jesus, we'd look quite silly to be surprised to see him on the day he does come back. But Jesus knows that life is busy, it's full of distractions, and we're very used to thinking, do you know what? Nothing will happen tomorrow. The burglar might come one day, but it won't be tonight. We'll just go to bed. Jesus says, come on, stay awake, pay attention. It could be tonight. So question 1, what do we need to do? We need to just be ready for the Master's return. We need to not forget he is coming back. And question 2, how do we do that? Well, Jesus starts talking about being dressed for action and keeping your lamps burning. I'd love to tell you there's kind of a special outfit you can buy on the C of E website. And a special little lamp you can light and tick it all off and think, I'm done, I'm sorted, I look quite silly, but at least I'm prepared. You all know it's harder work than that. It's a little bit trickier, but thankfully it is much more worthwhile as well. I asked at the start, didn't I, what makes you feel ready? Whether it's the way you dress or a bit of a routine. I wonder if it would be the same if you were getting ready for Jesus' return tomorrow. Jesus is dead clear, isn't he, that we don't know when he'll return, but just for a second, imagine you did. Imagine you knew it's tomorrow, Monday morning. Someone's told you he's back tomorrow, what would you do? Really think for a second. What would you spend the last day before Jesus comes back doing? I wonder if you'd be like a last-minute exam crammer. I wonder if you'd think, oh, I'd better go and read, Haggai and Habakkuk in case he asks if I like them or not. I don't want to be embarrassed. Maybe you'd clean like mad the whole day or bake. Maybe it'd be housework. You just want to kind of look put together. Maybe you'd just sing and dance the whole day through in your best clothes because, after all, it's like you're going to a wedding. I don't think any of us, if we knew Jesus was coming back in the next 24 hours, for sure, would live out the same day as always. But this is the challenge, isn't it? He is coming back, and it is any day now. The truth is, there isn't a single day left in creation that can't be that day. So we don't have forever. And isn't that good news? It could be any day now. In the meantime, what does a good servant or a good disciple look like? Well, it probably is a bit of all that stuff that we might do. I think we should read our Bibles like we're going to meet the author soon. You wouldn't go to a book signing, would you, if you could help it, having not read the thing, because it's going to be really awkward. You might brush up a little bit. It's not a bad idea. I think we should sing and dance like you're on your way to a wedding, because if you're part of the church, then you are. And do you know what? I think we do get on with the boring housework as well, I'm afraid. And not because Jesus is going to turn up and be really fussy, but because we haven't left the old creation behind just yet. There is still life to do. The trick then is not to get too distracted and not to get too weary. That's what the servants Jesus describes have got to get right, isn't it? They mustn't fall asleep on the job, and they mustn't forget who is coming. They mustn't think it won't be tonight. If you've watched Downton Abbey, and I'm not recommending it, although I have seen hours of it, the drama usually kicks off when the servants really believe, do you know what? No one's going to catch me now. No one's going to come home just now. They're off to the country. Whatever. You think it can't be now. It'll be all right. And then, of course, someone turns up, and everyone is a little embarrassed. Well, Jesus tells us to follow him now. And not to stop, not to get distracted, not to get too weary until he does come back to claim his own. Because wouldn't it be fantastic on that day to hear your neighbor say, Jesus, wow. Oh, you'll have come for Janet. She's obviously one of your lot. You'll have come for Graham. We know he's one of yours. Wouldn't it be wonderful on that day to think, do you know what? I am so ready to go. I'm so ready. I have been waiting for this. The Bible shows us that there is nothing better than belonging to the Master. It shows us that anyone can follow him, and it shows us how to do it. Repent and be baptized. Put your trust in him, and he makes you a child of God, a brother or sister in his church. And he says you will become more like him by his Spirit day by day, more ready for the day that he returns. We want to be a church, don't we, that does that together, that is really waiting because the days are numbered. Psalm 1 says that the one who loves Scripture is like a tree planted by streams of water, and it yields its fruit in season. We read that in Salt Cafe with our youth a little while ago and drew some fantastic pictures. And this is the truth, that until Jesus returns, we're finding that power and the wisdom to be ready for his return in his word. Well, we want to be a church that does that together, to be ready when he comes, because we know it could be any day. In which case, what about our final question? Why bother? It is a pretty important question for weary servants struggling through a long night. It's a question that Jesus really spends some time on. If being ready at all times, in all seasons, without even 5 minutes warning, sounds like quite hard work, if it sounds like too much work, what's it really for? Jesus wants us to know two things about him: that he is a great master to please, and that he is a terrible one to let down. So we're going to have the bad news first and save the best till last. In verse 45, Jesus says, "Suppose the servant says to himself, 'My master is taking a long time in coming.' And he then begins to beat the other servants, both men and women, and to eat and drink and get drunk. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour when he is not aware. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the unbelievers." It's suddenly very Downton Abbey and then very much not, isn't it? The drama is all there. And it ends in a grisly, grisly way. It's a warning sign, isn't it? Now, a warning sign isn't there to relish and delight in, and it's not there to ignore either. It's there to alert and direct. It's pretty obvious. Jesus is not messing about here. He describes some shocking behavior, but sadly, it's not that uncommon either. We know, don't we, that the church should be a family of servants, but it is all too easy for it to get a little bit bossy, for someone to enjoy a little bit too much power, for someone to start to believe that really they are in charge. Jesus has this warning for any servants of his who think that they can seize a bit of his power while he's away. The church must be full of great servants, not little masters. And the good news in this is that Jesus, the servant king, will not turn a blind eye to abuses of power. This is an obvious warning and a really great comfort that Jesus will deliver true justice. So when scandals hit the headline, as they do, and it looks like someone has got away with it all, we can know for sure that Jesus will still judge fairly. When it seems like the world is not just at all, like someone's got away with it, we know a God who cares for the weak. We know that his justice can't be avoided. What a comfort when everything seems wrong. And finally, let's end with the best news here, because it's hidden away. We've saved it for last. Verse 37 says, "It will be good for those servants whose master finds them watching when he comes. Truly, I tell you, he will dress himself to serve. He will have them recline at the table and will come and wait on them." Now, if verse 46 shocked you, this should shock you even more. Because what sort of master rewards his servants by becoming their servant? I've seen more than enough of Downton Abbey, but I've not seen that episode where Lord What's-His-Face goes downstairs and makes breakfast and says, "Do you know what? You go and put on my wardrobe, it's lovely, I'll sort tea." It's not what happens, it's simply not normal. And we should be stunned at the heart of this master. But it is a heart that we've seen before, isn't it? It is Jesus who's speaking, and he is the one who hung on a cross, bearing pain and suffering death in our place. This is the King of creation who came down to suffer for his servants. despite all our rebellion, despite all our forgetfulness and distractions, he came to take our place so that we could recline at the table and he could serve. There is no better master that we can find in this world or out of it than Jesus Christ, the servant king. And at Rogation, there is no one more faithful to provide for us. How much can we ask of the God who humbled himself to serve us? He is more than able to help in all that we ask. And what does he want us to do? He wants us to look forward to the day that he comes back. He wants us to be ready, not distracted. Because what's worth distracting us from this? From a God who comes to humble himself, to raise us up, and who has the power and the grace to help us as we wait for him. Let me pray. Father, thank you for Jesus' great heart, that although he was God, he humbled himself to become a servant, to come and take our place and to lift us up. Help us not to be distracted. Help us not to grow too weary. Help us to encourage each other, to point each other forward to the day when you return to claim your own, to end all the pain and suffering of this world, and to take us to be with you, to be with this wonderful servant king forever. Amen.